Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, mounting pressure for Israel to end the war in Gaza. Canada and a growing number of European countries take up the Palestinian cause. Plus, turning a blind eye, the massacre of Syrian Druze by regime-backed forces. And analysis by Jonathan Tobin from the Jewish News Syndicate on what's behind the calls for ceasefire and a two-state solution. Is the world rewarding terrorism? All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. On Wednesday, Canada became the latest country to commit to recognizing a Palestinian state, and there are now more than 24 nations following suit. U.S. Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff also arrived in Israel for renewed diplomatic efforts concerning the war and humanitarian aid. Here's the latest on these stories and more.
Canada intends to recognize the state of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney made the announcement after a cabinet meeting.
Canada has long been committed to a two-state solution. An independent, viable, and sovereign Palestinian state living side by side with the state of Israel in peace and security.
Carney said Canada wants the Palestinian Authority to lead the state, but only if it implements needed reforms,
including commitments by the Palestinian Authority's President Abbas to fundamentally reform its governance, to hold general elections in 2026 in which Hamas can play no part, and to demilitarize the Palestinian state.
Canada's decision follows a similar announcement by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. CBN's Nair talked with Revelation TV's Simon Barrett, who says that the Palestinian Authority's goal is not to live side by side in peace with Israel.
Effectively, what they want is a state as a means to destroying the state of Israel. This is part of the intentions belonging to Fatah, which is the leading faction of the PLO that run the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah. It's the same goals as Hamas in their covenant charter they wrote in 1987, calls for the destruction of the state of Israel and also Jews around the world.
Barrett says these announcements send a message to Hamas.
What message is this sending Hamas? This is sending a Hamas they don't need to negotiate. They don't need to release the hostages. And if they continue their violence and terrorism against Israel, then they will be rewarded with stateship.
Meanwhile, President Trump said Canada's decision threatens ongoing trade negotiations. In a post, he said their support for a Palestinian state would make it very hard to make a trade deal. Also in Washington, the Senate rejected 2 resolutions by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders to block U.S. weapons sales to Israel. A majority of the Democrats voted in favor of those resolutions.
U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff arrived in Israel as international pressure on Israel over the war against Hamas in Gaza is increasing. This week, a wave of countries announced it would recognize a Palestinian state if the war doesn't come to an end soon. Canada followed France and the UK in making the moves. Germany is holding off for now, but Palestinians are encouraged by what they're seeing so far.
Regarding Canada's recognition, for me, this is an achievement for us because all the countries have started. France was the first, then Canada and Spain. It's clear that we have reached a broader understanding of the Palestinian cause.
But Israel doesn't see it that way. Witkoff met with Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem on Thursday and is touring Gaza with U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee today to inspect distribution of aid. Delivering more food to Gaza is their first order of business. President Trump tells NBC News that good management will prevent Hamas from stealing the aid. Israel is facing mounting pressure along with claims of deliberate starvation. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. is blasting those accusations.
In the month of June, 2,134 trucks were sent into Gaza. Only 260 arrived at their destination. That means 90% was diverted by Hamas. You want to blame us for that too? I mean, for crying out loud, you want to blame us for conducting a war while we're providing as much humanitarian aid as possible. Hamas is using this propaganda to score points in the international community, and like a social contagion, everybody is picking this up.
Case in point, the New York Times finally admitted the photo of an emaciated child in their front page article on Gaza starvation last Friday actually had a pre-existing medical condition. Even a former Times opinion editor called it, quote, a remarkable deception. But many believe the global headlines demonized Israel. Trump posted that the fastest way to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. Relatives of Israeli hostages took to the streets of Jerusalem Thursday. They're depending on Trump, Witkoff, and Netanyahu to make something happen. This group has been in staunch opposition to the way Netanyahu has handled the war in Gaza. But now that more countries are joining the UK and France in recognizing a Palestinian state, it's forcing them to rethink their position, understanding that it creates a very slippery and dangerous slope.
This is my fear, that this is rewarding them while they are still hostages.
As for Palestine statehood, outspoken Hamas critic and son of its co-founder summed it up by saying, October 7 didn't happen because Palestinians were denied a state, it happened because they were given one. In Jerusalem, Paul Petit, CBN News.
2 weeks ago, shocking reports came from Syria about massacres of entire Druze communities in the city of Sweda. CBN's Nair spoke with Raina Dean, an Israeli Druze, about what happened. And please be warned, the footage you're about to see and the information from Ms. Dean is disturbing.
Hossam Soraya, a Druze American from Oklahoma who was visiting his family in Syria, was among 8 men executed in a horrifically graphic video taken by jihadists. Now, we debated even showing this clip, but it's important for the world to see the true barbarity of what's happening in Syria. Now, some of this video is just too graphic for YouTube, but here's a clip. From there, we obviously can't show you the rest of the video, but ultimately, these 8 men were led to their execution. Raina Dean, an Israeli Druze activist, joins us now. Raina, what did you think when you saw this video?
What do I think when I saw hundreds like this already? But that one was really different. I'll tell you why. They keep their lies, keep spreading their lies that, it's a sectarian violence. These people, the Druze people, are fighting us, and that's why we are retaliating. These are 2 tribes fighting. This guy with a master's degree in business management, he's an American. He just went to visit his family. That's all what he did. And you know why he was killed? Because he was Druze. Can any reason be logical here? Except that he is Druze, he has to be killed. He has to be executed publicly because he is Druze. So tell me, how can the international community accept such a thing and just go ahead with their lives? And I'm talking here about the vast majority of the international community. We've been exposing thousands of such footages, execution, public execution, humiliation of religious shrines and religious symbols, enslaving women, executing them, kidnapping them. There are thousands of women, Raj, that they are missing still. We don't know where they are. We are getting messages from the ground that people are being executed, French people, Australian people. I was basically trying to help an Australian citizen. He's a Druze. He just went to visit his grandparents, and we've been trying through every possible channel to try to just, rescue him from there, with no answer. Not the UN, not his embassy, the Australian embassy, nada, nothing. No one is trying to help these people. Now, at the end, we try to just, raise awareness, but no one cares. These are 2 tribes fighting. Who cares about them? You know that Israel is not killing them? That's it. We're out of the picture. This is the situation.
So Raina, obviously you are talking to people on the ground. I can feel your frustration. We've had Mansour Ashkar on, and obviously he's frustrated. The Druze community at large is just, why is no one helping us? That's the feeling that I get. And so the question is, let's imagine that someone with authority, with power, with influence is watching this video. What do you want them to know? How can we help?
Okay, so I want to be here very naive to think no one knows anything. I want to tell you the Druze people are ethno-religious minority. They are very peaceful, very patriotic to the country that they live in. They would never be an obstacle for peace. The Druze people, if they fight and they come out and say there is something wrong here, you should listen to them, because there is something wrong here. They are not the obstacle, they are the censor that there is something wrong. Now, the Druze people, either in Israel, Lebanon, Syria, we never got involved with each other's political issues. Along the history, we belong to the land. We are good citizens to the country that we live in. Seeing us now from Israel, from everywhere, even here in the USA, from Lebanon, all of us just telling the world, look at this issue. You are trusting the bad guys here. The Druze are not the bad guys here. Now, I know that everyone trying to have peace in the Middle East. I know that everyone trying to trust some leader that comes from the people. And, now I know that the countries don't want to get involved in the internal issues, of each other country and let them deal with their things. But don't you see the pattern here? He is trying to annihilate a nation. And this is not the first time. He did that since December, since he got the interim presidency. He did that with the Alawites. Okay, he had this excuse. They were part of the previous regime. I have no control over what is happening. I promise I'm going to hold everyone responsible. He did that again with the Druze in Sahnaya a few months ago in March. He did that again with the Christians in June. And now this is the second massacre since he came into presidency. And this is not the first time. He did other 2 or 3 massacres among the Druze community when he was still having this name Jolani. Now he rebranded himself. Now he is called, of course, Shara. He's wearing a suit. He's the same ISIS jihadi, Salafi jihadi terrorist. His people that he claims he have no control they are admitting when the Druze people are capturing one of his criminals, they are admitting it. They are saying it, and I have countless recordings and footages saying, we are from the Ministry of Defense. We are from the Security Defense Forces. We were sent here to commit crimes, to slaughter. And he used this in one of the recordings. He said the orders from the leadership were either to slaughter or to butcher. And they asked him, what is the difference? He said, the killing tool. Now, he's talking about it as if it was, legal. Shara's cousin, Muammar al-Shara, by the way, he has master degree in business management, this guy. He came with a fatwa a few days ago. He said, for 500 years, we stopped this fatwa, but now it's coming into action. Now we reactivate this fatwa. From now on, you can enslave the Druze women and have them as sex slaves. Now, this is from his cousin. I know, I understand some politics, but I'm not a politician. I'm here as a human being. Do you think any peace, any shaky peace that you are trying to promote would be really justified, sacrificing all the minorities? Do you think that this shaky peace is not going to bring us another World War II? Just to remind people, Hitler also was a legitimate president at some point for Germany.
Could the West be unwittingly playing into the hands of Hamas? Recent declarations by France, Canada, and the UK could add up to a win for terror. Jonathan Tobin from the Jewish News Syndicate talks about the rise of international support for a Palestinian state with CBN's Gary Lane. Take a look.
Britain has joined France in demanding that Israel end its war in Gaza. If not, the two European powers say they will recognize a Palestinian state in September. At the same time, the European Union and Arab League have condemned Hamas for the October 7, 2023 terrorist massacre in Israel. And they say the group needs to release all hostages and end its rule in Gaza. Well, here are some insights as Jewish News Syndicate editor-in-chief Jonathan Tobin. Jonathan, what's driving this decision by France and now Great Britain to support a Palestinian state if Israel doesn't stop fighting in Gaza?
I think it's in part a reaction to domestic politics in those countries where, the hard left and Islamists have formed this bizarre red-green alliance, and they're a real factor in those countries' political equations. And they're reacting also in part to this tsunami of propaganda about starvation in Gaza, which is created by Hamas. Not to say that there isn't suffering in Gaza, which of course there is, but it's of Hamas's creation. They have, there's no shortage of food, but the food isn't being distributed because Hamas hoards it, steals it, sells it back to people at exorbitant prices. That's what's driving the problem.
And there's been a Palestinian state there for 20 years. It's called Gaza, and this is the result of it.
The Hamas state in Gaza was an independent Palestinian state in all but name from 2005 to 2023. If it does, and we saw what happened. It was a terror state. It was only interested in conquering Israel, killing people. They had no interest in developing things for their own people.
So why do you think Hamas is continuing this fight, Jonathan, with both the EU and the Arab League now calling on them to surrender? Hamas must know that they're never going to be victorious and allowed to return to governing Gaza.
Well, they think they can win. They think they're going to win. That's why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, you can say it sounds illogical. They could never beat Israel, and that's true. But they have always calculated, even, on October 7th, when they achieved complete surprise, their calculations have always been based on the idea that the West will turn on Israel and that cut it off, isolate it, and ultimately hand it to them on a silver platter. That's what they're doing. They look at what's gone on in the streets of American and European cities with mobs chanting for Israel's destruction. They see these diplomatic efforts, with recognitions of a Palestinian state which is a reward for terrorism. And they say, look, we're winning. Yes, we couldn't beat the Israelis militarily, but we're beating them politically. And everyone who demands a ceasefire is just encouraging Hamas to hold on and to emerge, and because they believe a ceasefire will let them emerge triumphant from this war, that it will allow them to regain control of Gaza. They think that this is all in the cards for them. It doesn't have to be, and indeed, if Israel sticks to its guns, it won't be. But their ambitions are not unreasonable given the support they've been getting from the West. And that's why it's so dangerous.
Well, for now, it appears the IDF will press on until the hostages are released and Hamas is destroyed. So what do you see happening in the coming days as the second anniversary of the October 7th terrorist massacre approaches?
Well, the war is this is a very difficult situation. Prime Minister Netanyahu, don't envy his dilemma. The war is difficult. The foreign pressure is enormous. The pressure from inside Israel for people who want the hostages released. And, the war is exhausting. It's been a long, hard slog. So I think the war just continues, which is dreadful for the Palestinians in Gaza. It's dreadful for Israelis. But the choice is whether you're going to have that or let Hamas win. And Netanyahu knows he cannot let Hamas win, lest Israel be faced with future October 7th and more horror for both sides.
And finally, here domestically, we saw Columbia University agree to a $200 million settlement concerning the civil rights of Jews during pro-Hamas demonstrations on campus. Also, UCLA has settled a $6 million lawsuit with Jewish students. And now it looks like Harvard is reportedly preparing to agree to a settlement, maybe as much as $500 million because of its failure to protect its students from anti-Semitism. So 2 questions here. Do you think these settlements would have happened without President Trump's advocacy? And what's to prevent these universities from ignoring violations of Jewish student civil rights in the future?
Well, first, this wouldn't have happened without President Trump being reelected last November. Biden, another 4 years of the Democrats, of Kamala Harris, would have been the opposite. They were supporting these universities. These deals are not as ideal as his initial demands, but they're still tremendous progress. I mean, this is really the beginning of rolling back the reign of DEI and the woke domination and indoctrination in our education system. It's good for the Jews, for sure, because that's the Jews are the canaries in the coal mine here. This is good for all Americans. Now, how will it be in the future? Well, it's all a matter of enforcement. These deals are great. They're victories no matter what. This is something for Trump to be proud of. But it will be a matter of whether the United States government continues to monitor it, continues to enforce it.
Okay, Jonathan Tobin, JNS Editor-in-Chief. Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate you sharing your time and insights.
Thank you.
The story of Israel is one of covenant, resilience, and alliances. One such alliance is ancient, between the Persians and the Jewish people. We visited a shop in Jerusalem run by an Iranian man who's carrying on his father's legacy and hoping for the day when Iran and Israel are friends again.
You see?
Whoa. You are kidding. Hey, everybody. Joshua Swanson here on the streets of Jerusalem for CBN's Jerusalem Dateline. Behind me is Shmulik Gahan's store. He is an Iranian Jew, and his father started this store right here in Jerusalem in 1957. We're going to hear what he thinks about what's going on between Iran and Israel.
This is all from Iran. This is all the miniature. It's done by hand painting.
These are gorgeous. Wow. You wrote this one in U.S. dollars.
This is U.S. because it's the most expensive.
See, I've got an eye for high quality merchandise, is what you're saying. We're going to go see the whole carpet show. He's got thousands of carpets that came from Iran. Whoa. Whoa. You are kidding.
Nobody in Israel have this kind of collection from Iran. All what you see, it's all done by hand, all from Iran.
Wow.
Look this carpet I show here. This is Nair. It's very famous in Iran. This is silk and wool. You see this carpet? Look. It's a gorgeous piece. Look.
How long does it take to make something like this by hand?
8 till 10 months, 8 till 12 months, depends.
It could take a year to make one.
Yeah, it's very fine work, you see.
How much does one of these carpets go for?
$5,900.
How many years did it take him to collect this many carpets?
I told you, when he came to Israel, 57, till maybe passed away in 2019. He used to go to Iran to buy carpets.
Yeah.
And miniature that I show you.
Yeah.
And when he came to Israel back, he know exactly the person are going to buy them. But today is the change. The life is changed. No, it's not what happened, what used to be before.
Sure. What's the most expensive carpet that's in here?
I put it away. I save it, yes.
You got to show it to us.
And I put it very safe.
How much?
Well, how much?
$52,000.
What?
Oh, wow.
But I save it. When it be peace with Iran, I will sell it very well.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I love
all
that.
the carpets when you see here in Iran, you don't find them because in Iran in the last 30 years they make a new one.
That's kind of interesting. It's almost like your father is storing Iranian history in these carpets.
Yeah.
And when there's peace again,
it was the dream of my father to go back to Iran, but but maybe we can do it.
Maybe you can in his honor.
And I take all the carpets with me. And I make good business over there.
How can we pray for you?
Think good, pray good. This is what I mean. You have to think good, pray good, and I hope everything will be all right. I support all my soldiers come back to Israel safe, the Air Force of Israel, and they do the job.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on social media, and please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and that all the hostages will come home safely and soon. I'm Chris Mitchell. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.